Okay, so this is the tutorial on how to edit our business card. So we're going to open up Finder or Windows Explorer if you're on a PC. And you go inside the business card, inside the working file, and just pick either one of the fronts. It could pretty much be anybody because they're all the same. It just has different, name or the picture. Since this is a Photoshop file, it looks really weird on the preview because there's a mask and it's showing it all wrong. But since it's a Photoshop file, it's showing all the layers showing all at the same time. So we're just going to open up this one. It opens up in Photoshop. Here's your layer. So at the very top you have the logo, and then here are the images for that particular person. Then you're going to go back into your Finder or Windows Explorer. You're going to go to the employees photos, and you're going to pick the next person who needs a business card. So we'll probably we'll start with Des. So you'll just double click on that. It opens up in Photoshop, or you have to right click on it to open in Photoshop. It depends on how your settings are. So it opens up. So what we're going to do here is just unlock the background layer. So right here you see how it has like the lock button as I'm circling it. If you just double click on the layer, it opens up this little window. You can name it, but it doesn't matter. You just want to hit enter so that it unlocks it. Then you're going to select all. So if you come up to select, there's all, and here's the shortcut for it. If you want to start to learn those, you just select all. Then you're going to copy. So edit, copy. Again, here's the shortcut. And then you're going to switch over back to the other Photoshop file that we had. And you're just going to click on that top layer of inside the front one folder, and you're going to hit paste. It just looks like this huge gray box, but it's just because that photo is a lot bigger than the size of the business card. So if you hit Command T or Control T if you're on a PC, or you can come up to Edit, Transform, Scale, and it does the same thing. Since this photo is so big, if you zoom out, you can see how big it is. So if you hold Shift and you go from the corner to corner, like that's going to take forever, and then you got to drag it and all the other stuff. But if you hold down, if you zoom back in and you hold down Option or Alt, and you just kind of click in the middle, or just somewhere up here, it actually moves the middle point of that photo right where you had clicked. So now when you hold Option and Shift to scale, it scales to that point that you had dragged to. That way, it just makes it like a lot easier to scale. And after you do that, then you can move it back to, just hold Option or Alt, and you can click, and like that's the new center of that photo. So now, like, I'm just trying to scale it down to match the size so that everyone's everyone's the same size on the card. That's about right. You don't have to be perfect. And then you just kind of move her in place, or them in place. You hit enter, so that way you're out of the transform box tools. And then, so now we just have to get rid of this gray area around the person. You can erase those two layers.
Hello. What's up?
And then you're on that layer of the new person. Then you're going to hit the mask button down here. As you can see, like in this corner, there's a little, like a rectangle with like a circle in it. You're just going to hit that. It adds a mask. Okay, so at this point, we're just trying to mask out all the gray. So what I'm going to do, there's a few different ways, but the shortest and fastest way that probably works the best for this scenario is just push B for the brush tool, and then you're going to change like all your settings so that it's a little bit on the hardness side and your flow is a little bit on the high side. So that way, when you make as you start to brush on that layer, it's not going to be too feathered, but it's soft enough as if you took the photo that way. Okay, so now if you just click on the mask layer over here, it should be all white. Okay, and then over here in your foreground, you want this to be black. If it's not, if you have like some type of weird colors, if you just hit D, it'll go back to black and white. Then you hit X, and it'll switch on your foreground and your background colors. it just goes back and forth each time you click it. So you want the black as your foreground, and you want your, over here on your mask layer selected. Then you're just going to start to paint black all over the gray. You can just kind of do like a big rough cut at first, just so you can do the smaller details later, or you can do the small details first, then go to the all the bigger sections last. But either way, it just all needs to be gone. So I started like that, then I kind of zoom in a little bit. I kind of make the brush a little bit smaller, and you just kind of get up against the shoulders and all those pixels. So if you accidentally go over and you want to fix that, as long as you're still on your mask, you just hit X, and over here in the corner it switches to white. Okay, so now when you paint white, it's going to reveal back what you were hiding before with black. So black is to hide and white is to reveal. So we're just going to paint. So I fixed that, and I just went back to black. I'm just going to keep painting on that gray background to get rid of that. You just kind of do this pretty much all throughout the entire photo. If you just want to do the clothes first and then kind of leave the hair for later, or if you think that your settings are good, then you can just go ahead and just go right into the hair. Sometimes it's easier to go from top to bottom on the hair. It just depends on how you like to move your hand if you're on a tablet. So you just keep painting up and around. So if your settings are different on your brush, if it's too harsh, like if it's all the way up to 100 and you're painting down here, it might look a little weird because it's too sharp of an edge. So, like, you do want, like, on your edge to be a little bit feathered, but not too much. And the flow is just high so that you don't have to keep going over the same spot over and over and over again until it's gone. So flow is like the strength of your brush.
Hello.
So we're just going to make it a little bit smaller to get inside that crevice. And this photo, since it was already edited, we don't have to do like any skin editing or any dodge and burn, any detail. It's all done. So now we're just going to change the name. So that's all done. So now, like, if you just hit T, or you come over here to the text tool, and you can kind of click and highlight her first name. Desire. Okay, and then on the last name, so we're going to do a capital O, then apostrophe B-R-Y, B-Y-R-N-E. I'm just going to click on, okay, so, and then you go back to the V tool, so that's your select tool. Up here, there's the auto select. Some people like this on, some people don't. Since this is a very simple, not heavily layered file, you can just click on the letter, and you just hold shift, and you drag to the right so that the spacing's all good. So the next step is that there's a line that goes horizontally from the edge of the card into the name, but since this name is longer than the last name, that line stops right there on that E. So we're just going to click on it, or if you know which one it is, then you can just come over here to layer palette, and you want to go to the mask part of that layer. And then if you hit M, which is for the marquee tool, or you can come up here, just click on the marquee with the rectangle, and you're just going to draw a box that goes up to the edge of that E. Like the height, on the height doesn't matter as much. It's mainly just the width. So as long as the width gets to the edge, okay, and then you're gonna on the mask and having white as your background. If you hold down Command and you hit backspace, it's gonna fill what wasn't there with white. So it's going to reveal those that line where it wasn't already, and that should be Control backspace with a PC. So the next step, you just gotta make sure that the name of the title is correct. And then, so hers is mortgage planner. And then you have to change the address, which is really just their name. Okay, and you know, the phone number and fax are all the same, everything's the same. And so you get down to the NMLS numbers. So the first one is for City Creek, and the last one is the personal. So Dez's NMLS number is 313917. Okay, so right now, like, you're still inside the text box. And so if you want to get out of it, you either hit enter in the bottom right if you're on a Mac, or you can come up here and hit the checkbox, or you can hit the arrow tool, and it automatically just accepts all the changes you did, and then you're done. So then you just have to save it out from there. And you just change the name, not in all caps. So inside working files, you want to save the Photoshop file in here. You hit save. And then you go back to the final JPEGs, and you want to save this as a JPEG. Oh, before you do that though, if you come up here to mode, you have to change it to CMYK. Since this is going to be printed, it needs to be printed in CMYK. So you hit CMYK, then you can hit rasterize and merge, and hit OK on that one too. So it'll flatten it all, but don't save the Photoshop file like this. Save it as a JPEG. So you want to hit save as. So you can come up to File, Save As, and you go into Final JPEGs, and then you got to click the format down here on JPEG. Okay, so it's JPEG, there's JPEG, there's JPEG, and then you hit save. And you want this quality to go all the way up, so it's the largest file. It won't be super big because it's pretty small. It's just a business card, so it's like 2.5 by 3.5 wide. You can just hit OK, and it's saved, and you're all done.